Are we all here?
No, we are missing. Some of us are missing in action.
Yes, we are. I apologize, everyone. I want to. I'm experimenting with a few different things. So,
A few different things.
yes, I am working on using a camcorder to live broadcast so I have better quality videos. And I would like to say Melinda could not be here tonight. She is out of town for another event, and she wishes she could be here. So we miss you, Melinda. We'll see you next week. We have a guest speaker or guest co-host today. Yana?
Brenna Landis.
And I just met her today. Really sweet person. And, she's able to put up with me so far. So we're doing good.
That's saying a lot.
That's saying a lot.
That's saying a lot.
So, and of course, we have T. Nathan here today, who keeps me in line. And
Yeah.
so if anything gets out of line, it's T. Nathan's fault.
So, yeah, I don't have issues, but we'll work through it.
Okay. So today's topics are going to be DACA, Irma, and
whatever else comes out of my mouth.
Plus, we will be talking about the Houston Monument, which actually was a surprise for me. I did not know Houston was going to.
Because it was Dallas, not me.
Or
it was a big surprise to her.
that is Houston, file Dallas to the lead. If Houston has any left.
Matter of fact, the South just follow.
Yeah, that's an even better idea.
So once again, hello, how are you doing? And let's get right into it. We're going to start with the hot issue, of course, which is DACA. And Bree, can you give us a brief rundown on what it is before we go into the discussion of how we're going to address it?
Right. So DACA came out of a memorandum from Janet Napolitano with the Department of Homeland Security under the Obama administration in 2012. And it suggested that children who came here illegally under the age of 16 should get prosecutorial discretion, is what they call it, through ICE and Customs and Border Protection. It gave guidelines for them to give deferred action as far as trying to make them leave the country.
Right.
And so this came out in 2012. And it wasn't exactly an executive order because it came out of this memo to the various U.S. Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and ICE from the Secretary of Homeland Security. And so this has been in effect for about 5 years now, and we have people, the guidelines are you have to have continuously resided in the U.S. For at least 5 years preceding the date of the memorandum in 2012. And you have to be currently in school or graduated from high school, or obtained a GED, or be an honorably discharged veteran of the Coast Guard or Armed Forces of the U.S. You cannot have been convicted of any felony offense, any significant misdemeanor offense, or multiple, I think it's over 3 misdemeanor offenses, and cannot be above the age of 30 at the time of this memorandum in 2012.
So it was basically retroactive to all immigrants that entered the country if they were under the age of 13, 16 at the time?
16, yeah.
So it was retroactive. All right, so that's a rundown of what DACA basically is. Now we deal with what 45 has done to put a 6-month moratorium on it and how it is going to affect the undocumented children of undocumented aliens in this country. And I don't even like structuring it that way because if you've been in this country that long, to me, you are a citizen, especially if you came with your parents. But I wanted to address something because I think people are getting a misconception of who this affects, who 45 decision will affect. And we'll get into the congressional issue in a moment. But keep in mind that DACA, the dreamers that are here were brought to this country as children by their parents, that just doesn't affect Hispanic populations. This is why it's a bigger issue than you have to realize, because this affects all immigrant populations to this country. If you're from Kenya, if you're from Jamaica, if you're from parts of Europe, even, if you were brought here as a child and you have been in this country and your parents might have been undocumented, you are affected if DACA is overturned or if it's thrown out. You're talking about 800,000 individuals. Mm-hmm. So we have to keep that in mind when we go forward. Don't think this is not an issue that just affects one group of people of color. It affects all groups of people of color. It affects all people that have come to this country as children with their parents, regardless of how they got here, if it was undocumented. But now they have been a productive part of our society for years. So we must be careful when we think this is just a one segment of our population.
I also want to add, like, not only have they been a productive part of our society, but part of DACA, the requirements is that you cannot leave the U.S. without advance parole, which takes a long time, I'm sure, to apply for.
Right.
So you're basically, kind of captive within the country itself, that you've been brought here. You didn't willfully disobey the law.
Right.
And also, I saw an article today from the Hattiesburg American that said that in the state of Mississippi, we have 2,836 registered DACA recipients.
I saw that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of friends on that list.
Right.
And then you get, like I say, you get to that point where you have to say, what is the impact, the long-term impact of policies like this being reversed or by 45 or not looking at the bigger picture? Because, like you said, you're basically a captive in the country. And then you're telling people that, okay, we're going to, kick you out of the country that you've lived in for 20, 25 years and send you to a country you know nothing about?
Right, these are Americans.
Exactly.
And it's not only you're a captive, but you can't leave America, and at the same time, you're threatened within your own environment, your own homes. I was talking to a person this afternoon that I asked them if they would come out and publish their story, and they said they won't. They're afraid of the backlash from the immigration. I was at a naturalization last night, and I've never been to class before. I learned a lot of different things there, but I can understand their point of why they won't publish their story. And they said, well, there's all these protests going on. The problem with protests in this instance is you do not see the human behind the protest. You do not hear the stories behind that protest. You may hear a few here and there, but you hear the yelling. You hear the, you hear the,
I understand where you're going with it. But if you don't see the human before the protest, you're not seeing the human after the protest. I think this issue it's bigger than just a march. It's an issue that speaks to the heart of the country. It speaks to the fact that I hear all these people talking about we don't want immigrants in the country, and it's this one this article I read, and the author of this article was basically saying that they're taking jobs and they're doing this and they're taking this and they come to the country and they ask for this and they get this, and I was like under the impression of your ancestors did exactly the same thing. And where was the outrage then?
Yeah.
We are a country of immigrants, if you really want to get down to it.
Yeah.
Some voluntarily and some forced.
Yeah.
So I don't understand our immigration policy when it comes down to all of a sudden we say, oh, we're here, you got to know, and you all can't come. Especially when it was your country to start with.
Honestly, I don't think that you can explain it. It's a political ploy to his base.
Yes.
We know that Trump announced his presidency by calling Mexicans rapists and thugs.
And some of them are good people. What is it with these? Some of them are
Yeah,
good people.
so-
Some
so
of them are good people.
You cannot ignore that political rhetoric that, he riled people up at his rallies and, created this idea culturally that the, quote unquote aliens, illegals are sucking from our economy. Actually, people like farmers in Alabama pushed back against immigration enforcement because they were getting all kinds of work from the illegals that they couldn't get from illegal Americans.
I want to bring that up. I was at a town hall meeting that Plaza didn't attend, and we were talking about that. Plaza, yeah.
Is it a town hall meeting when the congressman doesn't show up?
Well, we had pictures of Plaza on there, and I was asking
Right.
I
was there.
So that's what we
got more of an
So I want, I actually somebody brought up that very issue. Alabama, I believe it was in 2001. It was a little while ago. They did a immigration policy within the state, basically like 45 is just done, saying that we are getting rid of all undocumented immigrants. Well, when they did that, they lost $100 million in crops. The crops rotted in the fields. The farmers, matter of fact, I was just watching a documentary on Netflix, I believe it was Netflix, where they went through these towns where they had trailer parks where the immigrants used to live.
Right.
And I'm not promoting it as immigrants are the only ones to do these jobs.
Right.
But I truly believe they are the only ones with the work ethic within the United States at this moment. I know personally I will not be out there doing it. During this documentary, I'm going to be honest, during this documentary, they had some American citizens go out there and try to do the jobs. They could not physically do the job. They couldn't.
Well, and I think this speaks to the point of the American work ethic is there. But these are jobs that people have, they're seasonal jobs, or that you're not willing to move up the coast or move from your place of residency to take. And so some of that plays into it when you are able to freely follow crops and move up to places and do that. But even those, and that is not even the majority I'm looking at. I'm looking at workers that work. I'm not going to mention any housing developments that are going on. But I know plenty of people that are building houses, following architectural designs that I couldn't do. That's just not my forte. But we're talking about 800,000 plus. Now, this is a figure to look at now. This is the 800,000 plus that we are hearing. But you add to that 537,000 people of color from like Haiti or Nigeria or Jamaica. And these places are also included. All these children that were children brought here by their parents are affected by this.
You know what I saw last night? I saw last night that, and I don't know how true it is, but that we do not deport Haiti, that we put them in containment camps. And we don't send them back to their country, but we keep them in this area.
I don't know, but I know in Miami now, the total was like 15,000 Haitians that are there, that are workforce, that are in the workforce. And that's a large majority. When you think of workforce, you think of someone have 2 or 3 jobs, and you get to the point where there's going to be an impact to the American economy. Like you say, you mentioned the fruit and vegetables that you in the live broadcast, and you mentioned the fruit and the crops rotting in the fields because they were not being taken care of. Now, I also think we also need to address the pay issue that goes around, because I don't want to have undocumented people being taken advantage of because they're undocumented. And we're not doing the pay. So, that's another issue that we also need to address. And I'm going to say this, the 6-month part, and then I've heard, he comes out and says he's giving Congress his time to do something, they didn't do something. Yes, I do fault Congress for not doing anything in the last 8 years also, but this is not the way you could have done it. You could have done it better than that. If you have no intention of deporting 800,000 people then there was a different way to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, political game, paying to your base. I've seen some of the most abhorrent videos and items on the news involving people talking to people that spoke Spanish or spoke a foreign language and talking about you're an immigrant, you're not even from this country. And I'm like, you're at Goodwill. What are you talking about? You're at Goodwill. And I don't understand how we as a country are sitting idly back and allowing this narrative to go on without stepping up and saying, hey, number one, unless you're a Native American, you're probably descendants of immigrants.
Exactly.
Right.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Well, let's also talk about the, I believe it's the I-9 number that they get so that they can't, when they do, DACA workers do work. I can tell from the recent conversations I've had that they documented workers and undocumented workers, they pay into the system because I keep hearing, and I feel like people feel like these immigrants are scamming people. And the problem, America is scamming them because everything I've been told from people that deal with this issue is immigrants pay into the system, they can file taxes, they cannot get Social Security, they cannot get food stamps, they cannot get any of the benefits that us Americans get. So they're paying into a system, that same system we pay into. They can claim taxes, but they can't get any of the benefits that we claim.
It's like taxation without representation.
Exactly.
What happened in 1773 with that? Boston Tea Party, perhaps? And, we are hearing these same issues. And like you say, taxation without representation. And then we wonder, where are we morally standing as a country? Number one, we have no moral leadership in the White House. Yeah, y'all know I'm going to say stuff like that. I don't even see why. Don't act surprised. We have no moral leadership in the White House. So these are moral issues. These are issues that transverse law. When it calls it an overreaching effort by President Obama, because everything he goes after is President Obama's fault. He calls it an overreaching. But the law of the land is one thing. It's the spirit of the law and the letter of the law. But actually, at one time, the law of the land was slavery. And if it wouldn't have taken some overreaching, we would have never got past that. So this is one of those instances where we have to do the humane thing. And the humane thing is not even to consider, talk about, or even entertain the idea of deporting children, people that were children at the time of coming to this country, back to a country they know nothing about. What if Mexico or one of these countries say they're not Mexican citizens, they haven't lived here? What if they refuse to issue visas or passports to these children?
Yeah.
What then? What is the solution then? See, this is not thought out to me. This is one of those issues where it's like, it's splashy, there's a hurricane coming, let's do something else, and distract from the issue at hand, and we're not addressing the issue either. Congress needs to act.
I think America.
Yeah, that's the problem that I have with it too, is that there's no real replacement. It seems like every single thing that Obama did that was considered overreaching is just going to be rescinded, and there's not going to be a real replacement set forth at the same time.
I
He's leaving it up to.
I kind of think we're setting the wrong area here. I think people need to start locally, which is happening, but I think there needs to be more movement. The single-payer health care system, right? There is a national movement now, locally, that whenever their politicians come back, the politicians, even Republicans, are talking about a single-payer health care system now, because that is what the people want.
But I think this is a different issue from immigration because of the fact that it is political, and I think we should have a single-payer on the record.
It is,
but in this instance, it's not. It's you thinking about it. Trust ICE agents to do the right thing that have asked people for their papers on the street. And you asking people, this is not.
They have literally camped out outside of like churches where people were sleeping and walked up to them as soon as they walked off the property and taken them.
Yeah, so this is what you're asking. This is not something that we can talk about later or do something on later. This is something that is 6 months. Number one, 6 months is not a long time. But during that period, what about people that are renewing that coming to the renewal point? What about people that don't have paper? What happens when we see mistakes like 2 weeks ago when they deported someone because their name wasn't on the DACA registry? What happens when these names start disappearing off the DACA registry? What happens when these people are sent somewhere and they have what about the Hispanics that are sent to Mexico that don't speak Spanish?
I was going to say that.
Because they've been here so long.
Yeah.
So there are issues that need to be addressed way before 6 months. There are issues. This isn't something that we say, well, let's plan to do something in 6 months. Let's plan to do. There are people that are affected by this. But it's nothing but anxiety alone right now.
But I think, like you all said, if Congress needs to act. We all agree on that, right? But I think to get Congress to act, I think we need to push. I think we need to create a movement like they started in Los Angeles with the protest to push the Congress to do the right thing. To be humanitarians.
Yeah, we are going to push them. We're going to push them out of office. But before, even like you said, this takes time. But this is one of the things to me. I looked at Elian Gonzalez. I grew up during the time when he was in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you this. I didn't agree with him not being back with his father. I didn't. But I also looked at the fact that it didn't take months for those people to organize and decide to keep Elian Gonzalez here. It didn't take months for them to decide to make a grassroots movement. When the ICE agents came to the house, they were surrounded. They wouldn't let them in. Yeah. So this is my thing. The human factor involved in this is immediate. This is not, are we going to build a road here? Or are we going to spend money on infrastructure? This is an immediate human impact. And this will gauge the morality of the country about how we respond, not later, but now. Because Congress has not enacted, even under President Obama, they could have taken it upon themselves if it was such an overreach that they could have taken the time to correct it. And there's, like I say, and even if President 45 believes, I can't believe I said president before 45. I'm sorry. Even if 45 thinks it's an overreach of power by the executive branch, overreach of power, what do you know about that, huh? But there are other ways to address the issue that have been in place. If this can get the point, and I'm looking at this, well, we had this discussion before, he keeps overturning these things, these executive orders by President Obama. And what happens when appeals, we're going to overturn this executive order on pardoning him? But I mean, we have to get to that point where we have to say that if we are as a country are not respecting the lawful presidential orders of a previous president, and we're okay with that, then something is really wrong.
I have no hope for the president. I don't believe he has a heart. I don't believe he has. I still to this day believe he's mentally ill. I believe there's something wrong mentally with him.
That's because you want to give him a way out.
And I'm looking at his actions and I think you're right. It is going to try and get a way out because I don't think anybody can be as stupid as the president.
I don't think it's a matter. I don't think.
Even if he is stupid or if he's mentally ill, he's still held accountable for his actions because he's the president of the United States.
Because I can't stand the man.
This is not anything new, you all. This is not like he got in office and decided to be somebody. I watched the man on the campaign trail for 2 years, and either you have to agree and still on the campaign trail for 2020. Right? But either you have to admit that, okay, if you go with the mental angle, you have to understand that 53 million people voted for mentally incompetent.
Which is why I was going to go with my comment.
So
what does it say about the country? Exactly.
That's it.
Because I really, we were talking about humanity a second ago and how humanity is going to fix this issue. Is this issue fixable?
Well, you're talking about humanity, and someone asked me in an interview yesterday, what was my opinion? Was it different from the majority of the people in Biloxi? I felt like, and my opinion on this is probably different from most of my conservative family. But I said in the interview, I was like, well, these are the hard discussions that we need to have with our close friends and family. Right. Is bring up the various individual cases and your friends who are being affected in Mississippi by this, because they might not realize. To be honest, I think it is. Obviously, it is ignorance, and And a lot of it is. Now, some of it's like direct hate.
And
And
they really want me to get me started on.
no, go ahead.
No, but
really wanna get me started.
I'm not going to say every
Check
one of them
me.
is hate. I don't generalize.
It's not even check you. It's like, I understand, and you all have the privilege of thinking of this as ignorance. But it comes a point where it's like in the face of every fact to the contrary, and you maintain that position, it has to be reviewed as racist or evil.
It's a privileged ignorance.
Yeah,
Is what it is.
exactly.
And that's evil. And that's
Where's
creates
the
evil.
compassion? How is it compassionate for me to even consider sending somebody back somewhere that they haven't lived
It's not.
in their life? If they could have came to this country as an infant, as a child, and how is it even? This is not should not be about taking jobs. They're Americans. They paid into the system. They've done what it takes. I watched a young man in Houston who's going to be affected by this. He's an EMT.
Right.
He's helping save lives in Houston. Has been for years. And now all of a sudden he has to. And I think it was cruel that he make them register for 2 years. And that's another thing we talk about. The program is not open to interpretation because all your information, you on good faith, gave all your information to the government
Right.
for where you are at this time,
Right.
where you're living, and all this. So, yeah, I don't trust ICE. I don't
trust them.
I do not trust them to take that information and not use it in a manner that is adversely affecting. And in 6 months, we won't be talking about 800,000. We might be talking about 400,000 or 500,000. And I see this happening. I have no faith that it'll be any different.
I mean, and that's where I was initially heading with my comment. Was saying, is there any hope for the country?
Yes. No, I'm not even going to entertain not being hope from the country. Yes, 45 is a horrible person. He's a horrible president. But
So you believe the good could still win over the bad in this country?
You have to call me an optimist. Because I think that as long as we stand up to these issues as a country, we can outlast any one person, any two people, any group of people that is not the majority. I'm saying that, I hear these conversations and I hear extremes. We get extremes on both sides. But I understand one side is a response to the extreme on the other. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I agree and that they are the same. They're not the same. Because you have your foot on my neck. My reaction may be extreme.
Exactly.
So I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that in the middle is where the fight is going to be won or lost. And I actually still believe that in the middle are where the good people are going to make up their mind to say, you know what, no matter what we feel personally or maybe some disagreements we have, that we need to stand here and oppose this. It's like Charlottesville. You don't accidentally wind up at a Klan rally. There is no accident. Oh, I didn't notice there was a Klan with the sheets. Or I didn't notice these were neo-Nazis with the swastika. I'm a good person. I just accidentally was marching down the street with them. That doesn't happen. So when we stand up and say, that doesn't work for us, or when our friends make little slide comments or comments about racist comments or against others, we stand up and say, that's not who I am, and I will not entertain it. Because when you don't speak up, you feel like, oh, it works. It gets over. And there's been many situations when I've been as a person of color, as the only person of color in a room, and people will say something, I'll be like, hold up. No, we're not even going to cross that line because you're about to say something that's going to be mighty offensive to me, and I am not Dr. King. Okay? And I feel that. And I'm not saying there was anything wrong with that, but this is a new generation. If we don't stand up, then we're going to get ran over. And that's like I say with this. I hear it, but I'm telling you, what we have done for the last 70, 100 years in this country on race relations, on civil rights, on immigrants' rights has not worked. Okay? I'm going on record as saying it has not worked, it is not working, and we need to do something different. And if that something different means not just talking to politicians, because this is like talk about your town hall meeting when Steve Palazzo didn't even show up. Oh yeah, if we get together and say, you know what, all right, you didn't show up, I guarantee you, we're not even worried about you showing up next time because you won't be in office. It's not about talking about removing them from office. It's about showing up, showing out, and doing what it takes to get them removed from office.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you all this thing. You're talking about centralists. I believe in centralists. I try to be a centralist. I don't believe in extremes on either side. Because I think if you go down extremes on either side, it's a dangerous slope. Do you believe the centralists within the United States need to speak up more?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and I consider myself a centrist, and so I have, slowly been gaining my voice, and I think it has to do with getting into rooms like this and having conversations persistently on, at least, a monthly basis, if not weekly, and having these conversations daily. Exactly,
Yeah.
and being aware of what's going on.
Yeah, we didn't get here overnight.
Because I totally believe that, the answer is going to come from the center, and that going too far left or right is going to take us down the wrong road.
Right.
I mean, and I do consider myself a centrist. I know that, y'all are maybe a little bit more radical than me. But
I don't know.
Me, more
Actually, I don't know. I actually don't know about that because if people would listen to our conversations, because we talk daily, I think people would be like, dang, because I think we are pretty much centralist.
I think I want to listen to a centralist argument, and I mean, y'all might be a closer to center than I am. But I also think that one of our issues with the extremes is that in order for us to really get our point across, we have to come up with a viable third party in this country.
I agree with that.
I
What
mean,
about no parties?
Maybe that's an answer too. But we must combat the fact that people believe that if you believe this, and this, you can have 2 or 3 items in common. You're a Republican. Or you believe this, and this, you're a Democrat.
Right.
What about I'm neither? What about the fact that I vote for the issues that most impact my community and I?
Thank you.
Now, if that is the truth be said, then neither party represents those issues. Of course, the Republican Party is out of touch, and just as much as the Democratic Party is out of touch at times, because Republicans rarely come to the community, like they don't show at town hall meetings, and Democrats only come to the community when there are elections. So, unless you all address those issues, then why are we expecting you to address the issues of the community when, number one, you never are in the community? Extremists got us Donald and Hillary. Extremism.
Lazo's actually got contended this coming term.
But I'm not.
And he is so much farther right than Palazzo that. I mean, are they actually? I'm wondering if the right is scratching at the walls to save themselves at this moment with Trump destroying the Republican Party. I mean, I believe Trump is within the Republican Party exploding like little bombs.
Yeah, that was a conspiracy theory at first when he started running. People thought he came in to destroy.
He used to be a Democrat.
Exactly.
He was. I mean,
he's an opportunist.
Yeah, exactly. For his pockets.
Yes. I do want to mention that when we were talking about DACA and how he's put like a 6-month stay and he's going to turn it to Congress and all this. Well, I don't know, I'm sure many of our listeners are pretty up to date with the news, but I remember seeing this blip that they had warned DACA recipients to get ready to self-deport. Well, they put out a memo that CNN got that was sent from the White House to Capitol Hill offices, and one of the bullet points says the Department of Homeland Security urges DACA recipients to use the time remaining on their work authorizations to prepare for and arrange their departure from the United States, including proactively seeking travel documentation or to apply for other immigration benefits for which they may be eligible. So that's a kind of a veiled threat, in my opinion, to say,
I don't think it's a threat. I think it's a promise.
It's a promise. Like I said, if this, you talk about playing to your base. You talked about that earlier. His base wants all people gone. It wants to. I mean, if there's an executive, I'm gonna have to look back through history and make sure there's not an executive order for me to be in this country, right? Because we might look up and we're gonna give Congress 6 months to decide. And you get to the point, like you read stuff like that, and it's like, these are the things behind the scenes. When I was looking at Jeff Sessions give this announcement, I already knew what he was going to say.
Yep.
But I'm watching Jeff Sessions say it, and I'm getting it's like a flashback of Alabama during the civil rights struggle with George Wallace making these
with the same accent.
With the same accent, and then you want us to turn around and say, "Oh, well, you know, in 6 months, if Congress said I'll revisit the issue." There was a different way to do it that was correct if you had a problem with it. Even though I don't understand what the problem, you could have fixed it and left DACA in place so you won't have those things. You know, they're not even renewing people's passports. Because DACA doesn't just include the right to be in this country, it includes the right to work. So it's like you're actually faced with the fact that you have a work visa tied to your residential visa. So it affects both of those things. And like I say, these people have given their information to the government every 2 years, where they are, how they are, the jobs they're doing. And you mean at some point in time, you know, bad credit can be fixed in 7 years. And at some point in time, you mean to tell me that we can't get to the point where we say, you know what? I think these are citizens now. And especially when someone speaks better English than most of the people I know, you know, come on.
Not always that, you know, to be honest, most of them are more upstanding citizens than some of the people I know. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, some of the people I've met throughout my life, you know, they're not the
Right.
You see those videos when the citizen is telling someone, "Oh, go back here, because they speak Spanish." Now I walk around for a week speaking Spanish, just so I'm looking for someone like that. I'm gonna walk around everywhere. I think I'm just gonna say hola.
You know, and let me. You know, I was talking to this person on some news site the other day at 2 a.m. and because I was defending DACA, she naturally assumed that I was Hispanic. She goes, I'm like, she's from Sarasota, Florida. You know, through her pictures, you know, I stalked her page like I do. And, you know, she would, you know, rich part of Sarasota, you know, here's this little twit that is spouting this crap on media and has no clue what she's talking about.
That's what part that surprised you?
No, I didn't say it surprised me. I didn't say it surprised me.
Yeah.
But I think that's a big part of the issue.
Yeah, your country elected 45.
Yeah, that's what he's playing to. I mean, like, I have the full statement from the administration here about why he rescinded it.
Right.
And in the statement, he mentions, you know, MS-13, the gang,
Right.
you know, in relation to rescinding DACA. These recipients who had to go through this extreme, you know, process to register and then renew every 2 years and pay almost $500 every 2 years to renew their application.
Let's talk
and he's going to reference that alarmist rhetoric to this base. Someone like that who's probably, you know, white privilege, isn't used to seeing people of color within her close circle of community. And so that raises her hackles, you know?
Yeah.
And it's playing to the fear and ignorance.
Well, it's exactly. So let's talk about this comment. There was no polite way to end DACA. Kept Trump his word. Is there no polite way? I mean, could he not have said, 2 years from now, we're going to end DACA, you know, instead of 6 months or 90 days? To be honest, I'm surprised he didn't say tomorrow. I'm going to be honest about it.
Well, no, I'm not surprised because it takes ICE agents about 6 months to deport 800,000 people. Yeah, I'm not surprised by the time period.
So do you think between now and 6 months he's going to start hammering the deportation?
This is just my thoughts, you know.
I don't think so.
I think it's going to come down to it that those people that are not going to get renewed, that they know where they live, they're going to disappear. I mean, I'm sorry. At some point in time, I am so reminded, because I study history, I'm reminded about the Nazis in the middle of the night going to the Jews' houses and taking them out in the middle of the night. And we have a system in place where they're already registered. And it's, like I say, it's the manner in which this was handled that has me scared for my friends. The manner in which this is handled is saying that whatever you say, it's like I tell people, the 45 I know is not the one on the teleprompter.
No.
The 45 I know is the one that tweets. The 45 I know is the one that goes off script. And that's the 45 that is our president. Now we dress him up and put him out there with the teleprompter, and people say, oh, he's made a turn. He's more presidential. The man cannot be presidential if he tried. I don't care what you all think.
I agree.
What you all say. This man is a horror in the White House.
Did y'all watch that
look,
rally?
Yes.
Which one?
The rally in Arizona.
In Arizona. Do you understand? That is your president.
No, I did not watch
tells
that.
you who your president is.
I can't even because
we haven't even got to
I would break the TV I'd break the TV if I watched them because
no, I ain't breaking my television. I paid for my television.
Well, I'm just so aggravated at the. I don't even know.
And it is frustrating. But we have to take that same frustration you're feeling and turn it around into action.
Right.
Oh,
because
I do.
If we just keep it as frustration, then it eats us. But if we turn it into action, you talked about the center. You talked about those of us who don't live at extremes. But don't get it wrong. I will go to an extreme to protect what I care about. Don't ever get that wrong. I could be one of those people where you say, I can't believe he responded with violence.
Oh, no,
yes, he did. If you threaten what I care about, I will respond with violence. Okay? Let's go on and put that out there. So don't get anything mixed up. Don't ever think that the culture, the refinement of speech, don't let it fool you. Because the extreme gets results. We see it all the time, right? I'm not my great grandparents. I'm not huddling in the corner protecting children. I'm out there fighting for them. Okay? I can do it with words. I would like to be able to talk to it. I would like to be able to present it. But it comes to that point where there's some things that are so egregious that if we keep enduring, we're going to keep enduring. This conversation, like we said, we need these conversations on a regular basis because when you humanize the issue to some people, it changes. When you find out, when the dictator found out his daughter was gay, it changes his whole demeanor. When you find out you have friends that are going to be affected by this, it will change your whole demeanor. But if you don't have those things, then it's not going to change you. If you actually believe it's something inherent in you that you have been institutionalized with, that your privilege now becomes racism, then it doesn't matter about the conversations we have.
Right.
And that is when we have to have action.
Right.
That is when we have to step up to the plate and do what is necessary, like President Obama did. Whatever you call it, overreaching, whatever you believe about that, you have to step up to the plate and say, you know what, this is wrong, and we're going to start to fix it now, not later. We're not going to kick the can down the road to someone else. We're going to fix it now. And if Congress doesn't fix it, people remember, government works for us. We don't work for the government. The government works for us. And that's what I believe.
Right.
So.
And I think that's what Obama was doing, obviously, when he put this into place. And regardless of the technicality, and they make, the argument about, it's an overreach of executive power to do this. Well, we had the Gang of Eight. And, correct me if I'm wrong, there was not any lasting immigration reform policy that came out of that.
No, it didn't.
So, and now we have, there is, I wanted to mention, since DACA is being rescinded and, there's a hold for 6 months and it's going to Congress, I would encourage everyone to call, their House reps and senators to have them support the DREAM Act that's in the Senate it's Republican Senator Lindsey Graham and Democratic Senator Dick Durbin. And there's also, I think there's a sister bill in the House. So that's the next step, and it's a continuation of the protection of the Dreamers. I have not read the full bill or proposal, but it's irresponsible the way that this has been rescinded all of a sudden and as a ploy to the base. And it's not right. You can't really justify it by saying, oh, well, I didn't like the way that this happened. Well, Congress wasn't doing their job, and that's why this happened. And I know that, the rights gets in on the technicality of it, and they worship the Constitution as if it's the Bible. Okay? And you learn I went to school for political science, and you learn about judges. And you learn about there's different types. There's people who believe in the Constitution is the law of the land regardless, and those original words that's it. And then there are people who are a little bit more reformist, and you have to interpret the law and move it to present day.
Right. It's a living document. That's another thing people don't realize. The thing that makes the Constitution great is not Latin. It's a living document that breathes, and as time goes by, we adjust that document to fit our society. What were you saying, Patrick? You gonna read something about President?
Yeah, no, I'm not reading about Trump. Well, actually, it's about Trump. It's from President Obama.
Yeah.
It said he came out and he goes, "Let's be clear: the action taken today isn't required legally. It's a political decision and a moral decision. Whatever concerns or complaints Americans may have about immigration in general, we shouldn't threaten the future of young people who are here through no fault of their own, who pose no threat, who are not taking away anything from the rest of us. They are that pitcher on our kids' softball team, that first respond who helps his community after a disaster, that cadet in ROTC who wants nothing more than to wear the uniform of the country that gave him a chance. Kicking them out won't lower the unemployment rate or lighten anyone's taxes or raise anyone's wages. Right. Ultimately, I'm going to skip down. Ultimately, this is about basic decency. This is about whether we are people who kick hopefully young strivers out of America or whether we treat them the way we want our own kids to be treated. It's about who we are as people and who we want to be. Where does America want to be? That's the question. President Obama made it straight clear. Where does America want to go? What does America want to be?
That's what we're seeing. That's what I think on last year, some Americans wanted to be at a particular point, and I don't think they understood where that point was. I actually said we go back. We don't have an informed election.
Well, let's go back to this previous, couple shows ago. I was talking about my cousin, who is his mother's from the Philippines. He went through the immigration process. I followed his mother going through the immigration process. And I feel, as him being a Marine, his stance on this subject is completely disrespectful to the trouble his mother went through. Because he wasn't born yet, or he was at a young age during this period of time. So I feel like people want to talk about a subject that they don't know nothing about.
What's his stance on it again?
His stance is that undocumented or DACA doesn't exist. You should apply to become a citizen. What do these people think it takes to apply to become a citizen? They just walk in, sign your signature, and you're done? Do they not realize the procedures, the policies, the trouble that it takes? We complain about going to get a driver's license. Could you imagine somebody complaining about driver's license trying to become a citizen? I know it's apples to oranges.
Yeah, I think
it's apples to oranges, but
it's not just apples to oranges. It's that maybe. But I have to be honest. I'll get to the point. I don't even know. The Constitution outlines citizenship and the process of naturalization. I think we talked about that before.
Yes.
And a lot of it goes to the point that people are uneducated and don't know what they're talking about. But it's up to people like us to make that difference, because some people don't want to be educated.
So do we need to start holding I'm sorry for interrupting. Do we need to start holding events where we educate people on this? Like, naturalization classes or some type of class?
You all need to hold those events, because we've been holding those events for 7 years. And that's one of the things I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're at the point where, they don't even teach civics in high school anymore.
So I did not realize that.
Yeah, we don't teach civics in high school.
Well, even in my Mississippi history class, we didn't learn about the wade-ins here and how Medgar Evers came all the way down here to the beach to do a wade-in in my Mississippi history class in Biloxi.
Yeah, and exactly. So that's fine. And I'm got 9 minutes to get to my monument thing, but that's fine.
We're probably going to
get to the point. It gets to the point where you say, this is not working. I wish we could just have a meeting and we say, okay, everybody, here's the facts, and you're going to start acting in accordance with the facts. The fact that slavery was for 400 years. It didn't stop it from happening. The fact is that it's inhumane to send somebody back to their country of origin when they didn't origin. They didn't origin. That's not their country of origin. It's my parents' country of origin. To have this conversation from the White House saying this is a policy that we'll revisit if Congress doesn't do anything. It's the same Congress that couldn't repeal health care. It's the same Congress that has not put a major piece of legislation that was on the 45's agenda through yet. This is the Congress we think is going to do something about immigration? You control the executive
I don't think
branch,
this Congress is going to
the
do
Senate,
anything.
and the House, and you want me to say, oh, just in 6 months, everything is going to miraculously change. I'm going to wave this magic wand, and we're going to make some positive moral decisions about the... No, that's not going to happen.
The only thing this Congress cares about is their bankroll getting bigger.
I don't know if that is even it, because these decisions they make are not even in the essence of greed for me. They're just in the essence of holding a status quo that has stopped existing a long time ago. You mean to tell me we're going to live in a country, this is what they fear. They live in a country which in the next 20 years, you're going to watch the largest portion of the population is going to be Hispanic.
Yeah.
This is what you're trying to stop. This is what you're trying to believe. When you've gotten to the point where you're not going to be in the majority. That is what this is about. When you look at the bigger picture for me, all these things are about maintaining the status quo of angry white men that think they're losing something because they're losing the grasp or hold of the country that they invaded with colonialism 400 years ago. And I'm not saying there's not a place for us all, but we have to realize that power is shifting, and if you try to hold on to it in the manner you hold on to it, it's not just going to shift. We're going to breed resentment, and you're going to have a system that's still not right in place, but you're going to be on a different end of it. So this is what the middle needs to be trying to stop. The middle needs to be trying to say, hey, we don't want this, and this. This is where we can live. And if we don't find a way to live there, we're all going to find a way to die there. I know, I'm extreme. That's my thought, and I'm not apologizing for it, okay?
No, I agree. Amen to that.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean,
I think the conversation is good. We're putting it out there for millions of people to see. But it comes a point where, when do we stop? This is an organization that will remain nameless that I'm a part of, the NAACP. And I want to have these conversations, but I'm also at that point where I say, okay, we've been talking, we've been having meetings, we've been doing this, but why is it still going on? It's still going on because we haven't gone down there and done something about it.
Right.
You know, we're not holding politicians accountable because we let them show up when they decide instead of saying, hey, we're having a town hall meeting. This is where the voters are going to be. And if you like your office, and even that, maybe if we get to the point where we say, you know, if you're not working for us, let's start impeachment procedure. Let's start impeaching congressmen let's start impeaching city councilmen. Let's start impeachment there. Let's start impeaching people and showing that, hey, if you don't have our best interests at heart, you can go sit at home. And that's what I believe. So, now, on to Dallas. Giving big ups to Dallas. They removed the Robert E. Lee Memorial Monument today, and I was very impressed with that. And they did it, and you know, there was no protesters there. Did you see protesters? I watched the live feed. I didn't see
any protests.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I saw a few.
I didn't even hear about it before that. They just decided to do it and did it. And I was like, yeah, that's really good. Because, you know, and I know people say you harp on this and that, but the flag, the monument all mean the same thing to me because I know that these are not monuments erected in 1869.
No.
You know, these are monuments that came about at the point of 1911, 1910, during the Civil Rights Movement. These are not monuments to heritage. They are monuments to intimidation. Because, you know, I listen to people talk about, this is our heritage, and oh, you're going to ruin our heritage by taking down this monument. And I'm taking down a monument of Robert E. Lee. And if it was a traitor to this country, yeah, I said it. It was a traitor to this country. Then if that's what you commemorate, there's something wrong in this picture. But even if I could give you the fact that these monuments are emblems of traitors, well, if it's about heritage, where are the slave monuments?
Mm-hmm.
Get quiet. Did y'all say something? Where are the monuments to slaves then? Where are the monuments to those who died without even a chance in your heritage? I don't go downtown and see a monument to the nameless slave that was beaten to death. I don't see a lynching monument.
There was
So-
a project like that. I can't remember the name of the organization or the museum out of Alabama
Mhm.
that they had proposed putting markers at all of the the recorded lynching sites in
Yeah,
the southeast.
yeah, why not? Yeah,
Right.
Why not?
If
Why are the sons and daughters of Confederacies building monuments to African Americans who died during the slave trade? Heritage. I don't even see a comment on that one. Okay, then that's what I'm talking about. So how do you not understand? And I keep bringing up Germany because I've been to Germany, and I have never seen a Goebbels statue or Hitler High School.
You never will.
You don't see those things. So how do you not understand that as a person of color going to a high school, that if you're awake and enlightened, you understand that you're going to a high school named after somebody that didn't respect you as a human being, didn't respect your ancestors. If they were alive today, and before people can start saying, well, most Southerners didn't own slaves. 48% of y'all did. That's enough. All right. And if the economy of the Confederacy was built on the back of slaves, so if you're embracing that history and that's your heritage, you have to embrace that fact. Now, if that's the fact you want to embrace, you have to also embrace, like I say, I'm going to give facts here. We're just going to do facts. We have to do the fact that none of these monuments were erected in 18 anything.
Mm-hmm.
1911.
Jim Crow
1940, some of them.
Era and
And 1940, yeah. And this is it.
Yeah.
Intimidation. This is about, hey, okay, y'all might be not on the plantation, but don't forget who's in charge here.
Right.
All right, this is monuments.
You know what? And that's why Congress is still doing what they're doing today.
Monuments.
And I think yeah, but I also think that's where the conversation, like the personal conversations, come into play. I had this, just a personal experience with my mother. She changed her stance from saying that, the flag, she supported the flag at first because she's from Biloxi, Mississippi, grew up in a white family, privileged,
Right.
didn't understand what it meant to, African American Mississippians and, African Americans in the Southeast in general, in the country. And, I explained to her, I was like, you love Gone with the Wind and all that, but, look at that. The only reason they had those large plantations is because they had like 40 slaves out there, like picking cotton for them.
You talk about, you have this image of the genteel
She
South.
very much romanticized it, and she grew up in that culture where our family romanticized it. I romanticized it as a kid,
Well, let me ask you this. You mentioned Gone with the Wind, and there was on foot that they were going to remove it from theaters because it was a racist movie. And I'm gonna tell you how I feel about that. Gone with the Wind, fine. I mean, I don't mind these depictions of what actually happened. See, that's what they make them point of, like the films and movies. I don't like bourgeois, so I don't go there.
Right.
But
I've never been to Belmont.
it's a museum and it's privately owned. They can display all the Confederate monuments they want to. I mean, if you're all okay with having a museum to traders in your city, you go right ahead. You pay your money, you go there. But, the Gone with the Wind, when I heard this, I was like, oh, that's a step too far. Because you get to that point where it's like, it's a depiction of, I think, Margaret Mitchell was a little romanticized about the South. But that is not the issue with me. That's not the issue. There was slaves there. And like you said, one of the things I looked at from that point of view, like, hey, the only reason you have this is because you have, at the time, because what happened when the slaves left? You saw what happened. I think that was from Gone with the Wind.
Scarlett had to actually work.
She had to work.
When she went
She
back
had
to Tara.
work. She needed Cara Burnett for that dress she took out wrong. But she had to work when she went back to Tara. And that is what I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with, people, we want to remake movies that were from an era and have people color in it. And I was like, there were no people of color there. I don't have a problem with that. If that's what you pay for, that's what you pay for. I have a problem with public money going to support monuments. That's my problem. I mean, don't get it. I feel like sometimes people are convoluting the issue with these extremes instead of saying, no, this is not about Gone with the Wind for me. This is not about those movies. This is about this monument that my nephew has to look up to every time he goes into a public park. This is about the name of a school, a public school, that has Robert E. Lee stenciled across it, and he fought for the traitorous South. So that's how I feel. And yeah, taxpayer money, not private money. Exactly. And so I'm not paying for the news.
Well, I think that's where the line is, because we agree on this. We agree. We talk about this stuff a lot. We talk about blah blah blah. It's a private business. They did get some public money a while back.
And you pay it back.
And and it hasn't happened again. So let's talk about the Confederate flag in Ocean Springs.
Oh my goodness! Did you hear what was announced at the beginning of the meeting by Sheriff?
Yeah, and that's what
the chief of police. I'm sorry.
I just read that today. So
yeah,
I want to talk about this because I'm
going over a little bit, so bear with us.
Yeah, because
say it again. Yeah, what the sheriff?
Because basically, the sheriff stood up and says, if you interrupt the mayor, if you interrupt the one of the council members, you will be arrested. See, I have called Shay Dobson out publicly because I asked him publicly. Because he is stating that certain people have the right to freedom of speech. So I publicly asked him, I tagged him, everybody saw it, says, are you okay with me coming into Ocean Springs and telling a police officer of Ocean Springs to F off? Do you support my freedom of speech in this? It's not a fighting word, as I'm dealing with a certain university right now. So let's get down to the nitty gritty here, okay?
Right.
Were they censoring people last night at the Ocean Springs council member or board of?
See, and then like I say, I heard that, and I was like, first time I heard it, I was like, I'm a big Nazi thinker, and I think about it sounds like Germany all of a sudden when you can't speak up, but the way he structured it, from what I've heard, because I wasn't there, and if any of you are there and I misquote something, please, let me know. But when I wasn't there, but what I was relayed to me was that the chief of police, not anybody, the chief of police shows up and tells people before the beginning of the meeting, and it's live streaming on the Ocean Springs website.
Right.
He says, if any of you all interrupt the mayor or the alderman, you will be arrested. Okay, basically, that's what I think. He said you will be arrested because the ordinance is you cannot interfere with city officials in the performance of their duties. Two things are wrong with this for me. One, the mayor and the city of Alderman are elected officials.
Yes,
they're elected officials, okay? They're elected officials. And if we're trying to extend this to because the court recorder or the lawyer was there, or if they were performing their duties, but if their duties at that time was to inform the citizenry of Ocean Springs about what was going on in their city, and they had some questions, then when do you question them? Why couldn't you question them then? I have a problem with that because it just reeked of a sense of fascism that I was like, wow.
That's extreme. To make an announcement that you will be arrested.
Yeah.
Is
that not intimidation?
Ask to move to the public comment section or, wait to say, without a doubt, you will be arrested.
Well, and it all came down to the fact that Shay said it was because he was called a Nazi or KKK online was his stance. Was because he was called a bigot or KKK or something.
So let me get this right. So I can go have everybody arrested that's ever called me anything besides T. Nathan.
Yeah, because I was actually reading what was said, and I'm like,
get some of y'all.
I'm like, Shay. First off, I know a lot of friends of yours. I have been told a lot of things about you. I have been told about how good a guy you are growing up. That you're. I have been told all this stuff, but everything I am seeing at the moment is crap. I'm gonna be honest. I have been told this, and this. As you were running for mayor, I was like, well, tell me about Shay. Is he better? Tell me about
I'm gonna tell you what Maya Angelou says on the issue. He says when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true. And that's what
I can hear what you say, but when you show me who you are,
it's
I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, and it goes back to the reference of when he was on WLX with Mary Long, and they were talking about putting the flag back up. Well, I'm telling you, the flag has been down for how long? 12 years?
I think it was 12 years.
Yeah,
It's
been down for 12 years. So you put it back up. This goes back to the overreaching part. Why?
Right.
Why did you put it back? If you feel like he says he feels like, yeah, I want a new flag, and if you feel that way, leave the flag down.
But I don't even want to get twisted on just Shay.
Yeah.
Let's include the aldermen in this. Because here you have a city council meeting, you have all the city council people that are voted in,
Right.
and they support this censorship? Who's running Ocean Springs right now? Because they should have spoke up.
A group of white men.
Did she just ask me who's running Ocean Springs?
Hello?
Ocean Springs. 77%?
And that's true. That group of white men shouldn't have to
But
answer
Ocean
to
Springs has always been
in Ocean Springs.
look. Ocean Springs is known in Tennessee, Kentucky, all throughout the South as one of the most liberal places in the South. It has the Peter Anderson Fair. It has one of the highest LGBT communities. It has a lot of liberal tendencies. I mean, are they reverting back? Are they going back and liberal too?
I hate to break it to you, right?
I think you have to put an asterisk on the
Yeah, I hate to break it to her, right?
Ocean
But
Springs.
obviously she hasn't grown up on the same coast I've grown up on.
I haven't. I admit I have not been here.
That's like when your mother dresses you up and you go out to somewhere and you show off your best face, but we know what it's like at home. And that's what I say. I hear you talk about Ocean Springs like this, but I'm not surprised actually. I mean, Connie Moran.
So what about the rest of the cities? I mean, are they all like Ocean Springs? Like, they get these awards as liberal and they're really not?
Yes. Did I say that? I'm going to correct it saying yes. Because if they were truly liberal or progressive, as you all believe they are, then we wouldn't be having these conversations about them. These would have been issues that have been addressed, and they will be off the board, and we would.
Well, yeah, because the reason I brought it up was because they had the anti-discrimination, LGBT anti-discrimination, all these awards that organizations give them or whoever gives them. I don't care who gives them, whatever. But they portray this image, but it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
I don't know if it's a wolf. I just think it's the truth of the matter is this is who they are. It's like when it goes me. I might make we had a conversation prior,
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about how you were in a club and how you were approached by people in the club, a young man in the club,
Right.
And I hope I don't want to be too personal, but it basically gets down to 45. The whole campaign, the whole essence of the country from that time period embroiders people to feel like now it's no longer that they have to hide who they are.
It's an instance. I mean, obviously they already had a sense of privilege and entitlement.
Yes.
But now it's become even more, acceptable
Right.
in their minds
Right.
to say stuff like this, and also to have this attitude of, gosh, the white guy who feels like he's being persecuted.
Right.
And that is totally utter bullshit. And I'm so tired of, and I did say I was a centrist, but a centrist should say that. And should understand the context and the culture and should not, sympathize with anyone who is saying that he's getting hurt. His feelings are getting hurt because somebody called him out for making a political decision. This, make no doubt about it, just like Obama said that it was a political decision to rescind DACA.
Yeah.
It was a political decision to put the flag back up in Ocean Springs. He promised someone in his campaign, probably before that happened, and he had to make good on his promise. And he used and also, we know from previous blog posts, and he'll tell you that was his feeling already, that he wanted it, back up because it needs to be voted again in the state and everything like that. But he didn't have to put that back up. There was no necessary
If you
reason.
feel that way about it, then you would not have put it back up.
Well, let's get back to the censorship here. Yeah, the flag issue, yeah. I mean,
but I don't think it was censorship. I think that's the whole point.
So you were
You
okay with the
talked
sheriff
about
saying
it.
No,
no?
I didn't see.
Council meeting.
It's not one of the other.
Yeah.
It's not one of the other that he did it, and I'm okay with it because I don't think it's censorship. I think it's intimidation. I think it's straight intimidation on the issue. Now there were people there that heard that and just get realized it. I mean, I go to city council meeting on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But there are people there that don't understand the procedures of city council meeting.
Right.
Now, by being told you were going to be arrested if you basically interrupted someone, then if you don't know how city council meetings run, would you come back again?
That's true.
Yeah,
So,
I can
but,
speak to that personally, as someone who's just now getting involved as a community organizer and trying to get community members out to speak up and make public comments at council meetings. As part of my job, I have to make a public comment, so I'm doing it, and I'm getting used to it, the procedure, because I'm new in this career. But it's hard to get people to come out and make public comments, even if they,
so let me ask
talk to their elected officials within their community, and they'll come out to their, driveway and talk to them. It's a different thing to the way it's structured and to stand up in front of a board of, all, and I'm not saying don't be afraid of them, obviously, but, to see not a diversified board,
no.
No one up there who looks like you, and then to make that public comment and when you're not used to it, and then to be told
That's
that
why
you're going to be
I
arrested.
wanted to ask you a question. So, as a person that's new, if you went to that city council meeting last night, because you're newer at it, how would you view it though? If the sheriff stands up.
Well, I went to school with Shay, and I'm not afraid to tell. I'm not afraid. But it is intimidating.
I was going to say, even as somebody that knows
Yeah.
Shay
Mhm.
personally, you would have thought intimidating with the sheriff standing up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
That's clear.
Yeah,
Clearly intimidating.
Right. It's like, and this is the thing. I mean, I was at a city council meeting concerning the flag in Biloxi, where Popo decided that he was going to stick his state course after before the election, and he was going to stay the course, but he was going to stay down, and so the flaggers showed up, and I'm talking about these are armed, flight jackets, semi-automatic weapons. They are armed, and they're out protesting, and they come in the city council chamber armed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is this a good idea? And this is a physical threat.
yeah.
Arguments could get heated, and you have weapons in here.
So they were in a city council meeting.
But they were legally able to do that. So
In a city building?
yeah, in the city council building,
Okay.
that were legally able to do it. The sheriff then stand up and make an announcement. And so that's what gets me. The parallel between this was an armed situation, and I do digress. It wasn't Biloxi, but this is just words going on in Ocean Springs.
But I want to clarify this there.
Mhm.
Okay, as a person that's been in a courtroom, been in a city-owned courtroom where guns are not allowed.
Mhm.
What is the difference between a city-owned courtroom and a city-owned council meetings?
Well,
Why were they allowed?
But in the city council meetings, it was not. They were allowed to do it. I asked questions, and they were allowed to do it. So whatever.
Has it been changed since, or can people still walk in there with an M16?
I mean, people walk in courts with guns all the time. Meaning, without metal, there's no metal detector. It's not like the courthouse where you have to,
That's true.
walk in to a metal detector. It's, City Hall. I mean, there's no metal detectors in City Hall. So, you can have one in your purse. You can have one strapped to you, and you can have a concealed weapon. But these were open weapons that they were bringing in. So my issue is like, if that was happening in Biloxi, big ups to Biloxi, but if that was happening in that environment, here we are in an environment where they're just words being exchanged.
Yeah.
And I think the presence, and when I heard this, what I thought about was that the conversations are getting so heated or so strong against the flag in Ocean Springs that we failed to break out this need for intimidation. It goes back to this is nothing more than intimidating, because what was the necessity of that?
And that's
I've never seen a city council meeting in your progressive Ocean Springs just get so out of hand where we need to arrest.
I mean, I've been to Biloxi City Council meetings. I've never been to Ocean Springs one, but I mean, I want to give them props in Ocean Springs. If Ocean Springs Shay believes that he needs to have the sheriff stand up and make it intimidating announcement.
Yeah, and I think
It shows that they're making movement.
And as we're talking about this now, I think it didn't work in your favor because we're screaming now that is that the extreme you want to go to, that
Exactly.
you threaten to arrest people for exercising their civic duty as attending and speaking up at a city. It's a city council meeting.
Yeah.
This is the thing, and as a fellow political science major, you understand that the city council is supposed to be reporting to the citizens, not the citizens reporting to the city council, right? So it is supposed to be an open dialogue. There's supposed to be questions answered and asked. So that's what it is. See, we're getting so far away from people who don't understand their civic rights in this country that you hear the sheriff gets up and says, "Hey, we're going to arrest you if you speak out." All of a sudden, you're quiet.
Mm-hmm.
You're quiet. You don't know. And it's something you just don't know. Things are going on. You want to go to city council meeting. Now, when you hear that at home, you be like, "I'm going to go to city council meeting. I don't want to take part in our government." But when that happens, we leave it to those who want the government.
It's true.
We have to show up. I know it's hard. And Ocean Springs, that was horrible, but you cannot allow that to keep you from city council meetings.
No.
You must hold your city councilman accountable. And you must, and I'm telling you, make this an issue. You all have the power. You, the sheriff, the alderman, all these city people, they work for you. Now, reclaim that power.
I think they had the power. And I think that's why they made that announcement. I think the mayor, I think the sheriff realized that they have a momentum going, that they are going to be there every week, and they're going to stay. They are going to make their
also, I'm sure I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
he does it all the time.
But that comment was also, and it doesn't legitimize it, but I think that was also made to the flaggers in the room as well. So it was to intimidate them as well. To not necessarily to. Not saying that obviously the administration is backing their cause because the flag is up in front of City Hall.
That's why I say it's a difference.
But I think, it's part of trying to maintain order, but that's not the right way to maintain order.
Because if you get to it, I know you got something to say, I'm just going to say that. It goes to that point where the flaggers are there, but what is their issue? Because the flag is flying. So when you tell they're not going to get up.
Right, they had a victory. It hasn't been up in 12 years.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're not going to be there talking about, we want you to keep the flag up, or you want to dispute the flag being up. They're not there for that. That's even an intimidation factor. But when the people who you're not even allowing the people that oppose it to speak, that is an issue that's far different. It's like you getting up and saying something in a room, and you say it to the whole room, but we know that you don't mean the whole room. Mm-hmm. And that's what the issue is. It's like the flag wasn't gonna stand up anyway and say anything or challenge anything. But and you do it in such a way as a political. I have to give it up because it's a general statement. But the issue was that more people are showing up for these city council meetings since the flag has been flying, and that's what they want to address. Right. Why is it flying? So I want to get to one thing for you. But you call it Ocean Springs how liberal and all these awards it win. But the city council makeup has been basically the same forever in Ocean Springs. So if you were so progressive and so liberal, and besides Connie, where are your women? Where are your people of color?
That is a good point.
So that's what when people show you who they are.
Yeah. Well, the reason I brought it up was because they could have taken several different approaches with this. The sheriff could have said, between this time and this time, we will allow speakers. They could have sat there and, stated the procedure of the city council meeting. Like you said, there is a way it's ran, just like in Biloxi, just like in Gulfport, just like in Long Beach. There is a time, everything is timed. Okay, he could have stood up and said that, but no, he stood up and used, if you interrupt the mayor, you will be arrested.
Right, and the mayor's not even the city, like I say, the mayor is an elected official.
So, I feel like this is going to be a hot issue. I feel like the free zone is going to be found in this issue because I really think, it's really interesting, their momentum behind it. What's the sheriff going to do next? If somebody does do it, is the sheriff going to arrest them?
Well, we know what they did to several. Like some water hoses broke out, some dogs.
I really want to see where Ocean Springs goes with this
Yeah, it's interesting to see where your progressive liberal city goes also.
Not my progressive liberal city, you know.
You know, all the awards they got.
It was a fallacy. You know, it was.
But, you know, and we could be here all night.
Yeah. So
and
anyway,
we're already 17 minutes over. So,
but you want to give a props up to
we want to give a props to whoever people want to give a props to now. Who do you want to give props to?
To the One Flag Raw, Ocean Springs, you know, because I really do. I want to give them props for standing up to the sheriff, and you know they are speaking their mind. They are doing what citizens of America should be doing.
Right, and they should. Everybody, and all my activists out there, go to a GoFundMe page because we probably would be arrested and we need some funds to get out. Because as you can see, I'm not going to stop talking and be dispatcher. I remember our friend down here.
Yeah.
So she's getting new to this. So if you want to start us a GoFundMe page, feel free.
Yeah, because we're gonna need your life.
Yeah,
I mean,
but it is, and on a serious note, it is about activism at this level.
Yeah. And
activism is a verb form of a word. Active is a verb, but it's about doing, not sitting. So we're talking to you all, but on a daily basis, we are in the community. We are doing things to show that we're serious. So don't just think you tune in on these time periods and just hear us rattling off about what happened in the week. You hear us rattling off about what happened in the week because we're either there or taking part in activities to make change. Okay. And
I want to add real quick that if Shay would like to come on here and state his stance, you know, it will be civil. You know, because I really would like to hear his stance. You know, I have.
Send us a video. And I'm not saying that he's not welcome. I'm not saying that, but I'm also gonna say shade. But don't get it mixed up, right? I'm not about giving platforms to people who we just categorically disagree with. And I can say what you want to, feel what you want to about it, but they have a platform. He's the mayor of a city in Mississippi. He has a platform. He has the opportunity to speak out in favor of something. He's not using that platform to speak out in favor of it. I'm not going to invite him here to have an argument with him. I can go to those strings and have an argument with him because that's what it's going to turn into.
Well, that's true.
For me, I'm sorry, I'm not that high and righteously moralistic as everybody else is, but I know that inherently we're not talking about politics. See, these two, they still think we're talking about politics. I, as a person of color, know it's not just about politics anymore. So, yes, I'm going to be offended, and I'm going to act offended. So, yeah, I might not be here that day. They have shade dots on, okay? And don't wonder why, because I'm just tired of this illusion. Like I'm not upset about racism still being an issue in this country in 2017, and people acting like it's not. I'm fed up with that. I don't have any more talk to racists about why they shouldn't be racist. Once you show me you're racist, I'm treating you like you're racist, and we can go from wherever we want to from there.
Well, it's not on you as a person of color. I think it's on us.
Our
fellow, white people should check themselves.
And to also say that that's unacceptable. It's not enough just to say, oh, but if you keep doing the same things that further the racist agenda, even subconsciously, then you are part of the racist agenda.
Yeah.
And if you don't wake up and speak out against that, then put your foot on my neck if you want to. That's all that's. Now, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And you're welcome anytime.
Thank you for having me.
Melinda, we miss you. We look forward to Melinda being back. Be safe. All of you all in the path of Irma. I just wanted to say one thing. Let's not forget that in the course of this Irma hitting the mainland of the United States, that Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, those are also United States properties and territories. We have citizens there also. So let's send them some prayer and our love also, and get some support also.
Don't forget Mexico too. That's about to get hit by Katie, because they have I believe it's Category 1 right now. That's about to dead hit them. So
this is hurricane season, and
there is another one that just came up named Eric. So
hurricane fatigue or anxiety. This has been a long one. So thank you for joining us tonight. Y'all have a beautiful night, and peace.
Peace.
Good conversation.